Hey folks, just imagine this. These youngsters stumbled into the wrong place and now they need to fight not to become food, because today I'm going to tell you two stories from the Creepshow series, so subscribe and take a deep breath, because now we're going to recap. Our first story of the day is called Queen Bee, and it begins with three young people watching Regina, who is a famous singer. They start arguing about who is her #1 fan, and Jessica starts fighting with Risa, claiming she would prove she's the #1 fan. Meanwhile, John is just lighting up a joint because in his mind, he only wants to hook up with one of the two girls, which seemed fine to him. The problem is that Risa's mom shows up, and they need to pretend to be normal teenagers, or things could go really wrong. And if you think it can't get worse, it's because you don't know them yet. Regina, the singer, is pregnant and has closed off a wing of the hospital to give birth. They come up with the idea to invade the hospital to record and post it, proving they are her #1 fans. In anyone's mind, this seems like a dumb idea, but since we're talking about youngsters, they get excited and plan to sell these images. Along the way, all the radios are announcing the birth of the pop queen's child, so it would be a big event. When they arrive at the location, it's full of cameras, but they are clever enough to pass by them. Since Risa's dad worked at the hospital, she gets the access card. When they open the door, they see Regina, but right behind her appears a security guard the size of a wardrobe, and they realize it's going south fast. In their desperation, they push him down the stairs, and I think he died. Now they need to run, because everything has already gone wrong. Entering the wing where Regina was, they start looking around to find her room. They notice some scientists carrying bodies on gurneys, and it seems strange. John makes a noise, and Jessica almost gets caught, but she manages to hide in the shadows. When the nurse looks at her, her eyes are glowing green as if she's being controlled, and mysteriously, Jessica isn't spotted. That was very strange, and it would be the perfect moment to bail, but they want to continue and find several bodies on gurneys, all of them stitched up. And here comes the big transformation, because they find Regina, who was in labor, but as soon as she gets an injection, she starts transforming into a bizarre creature, and the nurses have this different look, indicating they're being controlled by her. John manages to do another stupid thing and tries to take a photo, but he activates the flash, drawing everyone's attention, and now they need to run. But when Jessica looks back, her friends are being controlled because that creature was emitting a frequency. However, somehow, she isn't controlled. She has a good idea and puts cotton in Risa's ears, but John ends up being drawn to the creature and takes a sting to the head, passing out briefly. The two of them run because things are about to go very wrong, but the nurses start appearing. Jessica does everything she can to save her friend, and since the exit is blocked, they need to lure the nurses and take them out one by one, or they wouldn't make it out alive. Now, it's the moment of mystery because they manage to reach the exit, and Jessica reveals that the creature was actually Regina. Risa is torn because this is her opportunity to prove she's Regina's #1 fan, so she decides to remove the cotton to be controlled. When Jessica wakes up, she's trapped in a cocoon, and Risa appears with green eyes, saying that since she was a good girl, Regina would get her some VIP tickets for the next show. Then, she takes one of the newborns and puts it on Jessica's face, because it was born greedy. Now, I ask you, how would you survive this first story? Leave your thoughts in the comments. Now, please like and subscribe if you're new, because the second story will have even more horror. Let's continue. And now let's move on to our second story of the day, titled Relax, I'm Going to Eat You, and I recommend having a strong stomach because this one's going to be intense. It starts with Strick, who is in prison, and in his cell, there's a secret hole with a spider inside that he likes to talk to. The problem is that the spider is bigger than you can imagine, and since he doesn't want to tell anyone, he pretends to have dropped his book. Now he's called for his custody hearing, and let's understand why he's there. The agents begin to say that he's only in prison because he assisted someone in dying, and before he was arrested, he was a pharmacist, so he did it without the person feeling any pain. But he doesn't feel guilty because the person asked for it, as they couldn't bear to suffer in that world anymore. The parole officers analyzing his case believe he could have a chance at freedom, but one of the guards sent a report saying he had a confrontation with another inmate and tried to poison them due to his work in the medical area. However, Strick knows he didn't do that because he had no issues with anyone. The guard was looking at him and laughing, and here we understand why. He's bald, and we know that a man who's lost his hair has nothing left to lose, so he makes others lose instead. He's taken back to his cell, and the guard tells him he'll make his life a living hell for what he did to his own mother. Some inmates were waiting for him because they wanted him to make some special drugs to sell in there. He says he's never done it, but the guard tells him he'd better learn, or else the other prisoners will have some different games for him. Strick goes back to playing with his spiders because they were the only company he could tolerate, and guard William, who was one of the good ones, shows up and says he's been keeping an eye on everything. He knows Strick is different, and Strick says he's been studying spiders during his time inside, even managing to write 3 scientific articles about them. William mentions that he received an urgent anonymous letter, and a woman sent some ancient Egyptian notes about spiders. Strick's studies were gaining fame, and with those notes, he could complete his work. He starts feeding the spiders, but the one on the wall is much larger, presenting a problem. He begins to remember how he ended up there, with his mother who couldn't speak or move, diagnosed with terminal cancer, feeling pain throughout her body. At that moment, he realized that the best thing to do would be to end her suffering. The problem was that at that very moment, those guys entered his cell and told him that tomorrow there would be a new batch of drugs, and he had to make the toxic substance they requested, or it would get worse. To show they were serious, they broke his finger and started smashing the pots where the spiders were kept. But that's when we see how the world turns, because the prisoner tries to kill a spider, but it jumps into his eye and bites him, causing him to scream and alert the guards. The issue is that the bald guard says he was keeping an eye on everything and claims that Strick's spiders bit the eye of the other inmate while he was trying to sleep. It didn't even make sense because they were from different cells, and Strick would get in serious trouble. But William was there to protect him. However, the next day, the prison director announces that because of this incident, they would have to evacuate all the prisoners because they would be spraying pesticides everywhere to get rid of these insects. Strick becomes desperate because he would lose his friends, the spiders. Returning to his cell, he had no choice but to use that ancient paper to perform an ancient ritual. He told the giant spider that he was willing to do anything, and somehow it understood. He began the ritual and told it to consume him right there. During the night, the bald guard came to taunt him, but there was no one in the cell. He started getting trapped in various webs, and that spider appeared, but now it was different because Strick's head was attached to its body. The next day, when they checked, Strick was gone, and they only found the guard's head because he paid for everything he had done. And we can learn 2 things here. First, being Spider-Man isn't always a good idea, and if you're bald, seek medical help, or you'll end up like that guy. Your life is screwed. So, hit that like button, because for every like this video gets, a strand of hair will grow on you. Now, I'm out. Thanks to everyone, and farewell.
I walk a lonely road, the only